Wow, what a great time we had recording this episode. I can't tell you how much fun we had. So, this week on our episode, we had the privilege of speaking with Marlon and Lisa Crawford, and we talked about the thermostat. What is that? That's how to keep your relationship at the perfect temperature at all times. And when it's off, you know it, and how to get it back right where it needs to be. We would also like to give a great shout out to our friend Shaquila, who is listening to us and supports us, and we appreciate you. It was also her birthday this week, so everyone say happy birthday to Shaquila. So without further ado, let's listen to this week's episode with Lisa and Marlon. Cue the music.
Welcome to Loving Beyond the I Do podcast. This power couple is building stronger marriages one day at a time. Talking about real issues on love, relationships, and marriage longevity. Let's break down the barriers and engage in healthy conversation with your hosts, Jason and Tina Marie. Take a seat and buckle up because things are about to get real.
All right, well, welcome to the show. We're here with Marlon and Carlissa Crawford. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks for having us.
All right, so we were having dinner the other night, and a conversation came up about thermostat. The thermostat in your relationship. And I was like very inquisitive about that. I mean, like, hey, we got into a nice conversation at dinner, and I was like, hold up. Well, I didn't say that. Actually, Tina said, stop the conversation. I don't have the mic, so we need to get this on tape.
So tonight we're going to let them tell us what the thermostat is in your relationship. So who wants to start?
Well, I can start.
Well, before you start, is it warm right now? Is it icy? I mean, where is the thermostat set right now? Is it just comfortable?
Oh, you said I could start. Then you said let's ask Lisa.
It's fire.
Oh, it's fire. Okay. All right.
Don't touch that dial.
All
So
right.
I think it's fine now.
Okay.
All right.
So explain to us, what is the thermostat in a relationship?
Well, before we get let's let them tell a little bit about themselves.
Okay.
Before we jump right in, how long you been married? How you met? All this other stuff.
Well, glad that you asked. So I'm excited to say that Lisa and I are in our 8th year of marriage. We got married in 2011. Mm-hmm. And it's now been 8.5 years of marital bliss.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I will say that what the beautiful thing about our marriage that we have experienced and we continue to experience that, and people even share with us, is that even though we've only been married for 8.5, it feels like much longer in terms of our ability to work together, be on the same page, and basically become one.
Well, I won't pull up any rocks or anything, but you say marital bliss. Does that mean that, because I know both of you come from a blended family, like you, Lisa had kids prior to, and you have a daughter. Mm-hmm. So was that part of your marital bliss? Like they just joined in, they just everything just went right. So
well, of course not.
Exactly.
And to be fair, in terms of one of the reasons why it may seem like or feel like that it's much longer than 8 years is that we actually known each other for over 35 years.
Okay.
Because we were in high school together. And so there was a 25-year period where we were off doing separate things before we came together.
Okay. So you did know each other prior to getting married.
Yeah, absolutely. But as soon as we did get married, then when you do bring two families together, then there's instant, conflicts and issues and readjustments.
Instant marital bliss.
Well,
For us it was.
The marital bliss part, I mean, it is actually true. When you find your soulmate, whether it's, you start your relationship years back or it's a newer relationship, then in a lot of ways it is bliss, even in the midst of the trials and the challenges, because if you're on one page, on the same page, then children, they follow you. It's a challenge because, who doesn't want their birth parents to be together? So, those are some challenges that you work through, but if you're on the same page, then you can work through them.
Right. And so if I can add to that, one of the things that made me feel like we experienced marital bliss was because Lisa and I started from the beginning when we started dating back in 2009, that we first had to be honest with ourselves, right?
Okay.
We had to be honest that we both had made decisions that caused our lives to go in different directions.
Okay.
But when we came together again, we instantly knew that we had a purpose that was much bigger than what we could have imagined some 35 years ago. And so we decided that we were going to be honest with ourselves in terms of where we wanted to be. And we instantly knew that we were going to be married and spend the rest of our lives together.
And do you think that was part of age? Like, because sometimes when you're younger, you haven't gone through those other things that you need to get to become the person that you are when you guys got back together. And I think sometimes going through that experience kind of helped you see what you didn't want in your second relationship or what didn't work from the first one that you can now apply to your second one and not go through those same mistakes.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah. And so part of what you're saying resonates with me because one of the things that I was naive to think was that in my previous marriage, with all the flaws and all the problems that we experienced, I was naive to think that it was nothing that I did to contribute to that.
Okay.
Okay.
And so when I started the relationship with Lisa, I like to call her Lisa, not Carlissa.
Yep.
What I found out was that even in our marital bliss, that we had problems that I was actually contributing to. And so what I found out was that I had to learn to break that. I had to break that cycle.
How did it become? How were you aware of that? Because if you're thinking that your first marriage, the problems that you had was your spouse and not you, how did that revelation come about that you realized, hey, I'm having these same issues, then it must be me? Or was it something that you all did? Like, how do you know? How does the person know, whether it's the male or the female, that the problems that you had in your previous relationship, you're actually the one who's causing them or bringing them?
Mm-hmm. Well, part of that is then your spouse tells you. Okay. And that's where communication is really important. And when you are entering into especially a second marriage where you are making this choice, I think sometimes with first marriages, if you're backing into it, or if you end up in this marriage for a number of reasons that's not about finding the right person for you, but maybe it's just your time.
Right.
And you know, people go into marriages for a bunch of reasons. And I think that God honors marriages, and so you can make it work. But I think that there is somebody for you that is your soulmate, that person that you should be with. And for me, coming into this, never intended to get married again. That was not on the agenda. Was totally fine and happy to just get out of the situation that I was in. But in coming across and having the opportunity to reconnect with someone who, you know, in hindsight, and we talk about it, we fell in love 35 years ago. But because of maturity, because of not knowing really what was love,
Absolutely.
You don't know that at 18 years old. And so, but then having the opportunity to get back together, you're not going to just squander that. You're not going to just let that pass. So when you see something, you say something. And so that's when you're calling out these things that this isn't right. You know, if you're bringing this stuff in, I'm not your ex-wife. This isn't right. We're not doing this. And so when you call those things out, then now, you know, the other person's, you know, they have to deal with that.
Marlon, how did you feel about that? I mean, you had to learn to take ownership in, you know, part that you played in your past relationship, right? So you come over here, it's like, hey, I want to do things better. You know, I love this person, and we got back together. This is who I'm supposed to spend the rest of my life with. Now, how do you feel when she comes to you? It's like, we're not going to do that. And when do you get to the point where you say, well, I got to take ownership in this?
And how were you open? You know?
Well, so it wasn't easy.
Right.
Let me just say, it wasn't something that automatically we just decided that I'm going to take ownership in it. You know, these are some things I need to do. I actually walked into this relationship blind in terms of my faith in our relationship, what we had in the past, was fast forward to now. Thought it was going to just be automatic. It was going to be open up the can and here's a beautiful marriage. And quite honestly, it started out like that.
Sure.
And everything
it usually does.
was going so great where she can, you know, right away she's finishing my sentences. She knew what I liked. We liked the same things. So I'm thinking marriage is easy. This is great.
Right, when you're with the right person.
This is wonderful. And it was like, for the first time in my adult life, I was actually experiencing what it actually feels like to be in love. To be in love with someone who's actually in love with me.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's where the it starts to get difficult because I was naive enough to think that love alone was going to keep us.
Absolutely.
And it will not.
And then I look at my wife and she has this look on her face like I have just kicked her in the stomach. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she's telling me about myself and I'm thinking, what is wrong? What are you kidding? It's me. I would do anything for you. And why would you be upset with me? You know my heart. You know there's nothing I wouldn't do for you.
Right.
And she began to tell me about myself in a way that we had to have those difficult conversations where we break down, okay, so here's what you did, and this is what I didn't like about it. My initial thought was, you know, you're overreacting. Okay. You have baggage, and so you got to work that out on your own.
It's that retaliation, that coping mechanism where it's not me, it's you. Where we really, when someone's trying to tell us and help the situation, we're thinking that they're trying to find blame.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So what we do is we turn it around and then we can find the fault in them instead of actually trying to hear what they're saying and trying to come up to an agreement on how to resolve the issue instead of just going fast. And I think that's a key point in relationships where when your mate is trying to tell you what they see that you may not be able to see, and then we turn around and switch it around instead of being open and honest with ourselves and actually trying to handle it as an individual.
But the truth hurts. I mean, it's hard when someone's telling you about yourself. So if I'm in love with you, we're in this marriage and things are going along, and then you're going to tell me about some stuff that cuts to the core about my being that I really need to check. It's tough to deal with. And it takes a man to sit back and say, okay, maybe you're not tripping. Maybe I need to take a serious look at myself and see if I can kind of rectify this situation.
So was that what you did? Like, I mean, honestly, for the men out, right? So honestly, for the men out there, when because most men think women are nagging, or like you said, we're overreacting, or we're just too sensitive. So what would you tell a man when someone's actually, or anyone, when someone's actually trying to tell you something that could benefit your relationship? What did you do? How did you absorb that and apply it to your life?
Well, it's no easy fix, and it's a process. So I can tell you that it's very natural, and for me, when Lisa began to tell me why I was wrong and how I hurt her and all these different things, men come from a factual background. We're going to look at things logically and say, well, if you did this, then I wouldn't have done that.
Right.
Yeah.
So really, this is your problem. Mm-hmm. It's not my problem because really, you were a part of the problem. Mm-hmm. So I kept making her a part of the problem instead of me focused on how can I create the solution.
Yeah.
So in that, I'm pointing the finger at her. She's pointing the finger at me. And I'm like, well, I'm good, so I'm gonna just go over here. Watch television. I'm gonna do anything I can to avoid this confrontation.
Right.
Because this cannot be healthy for a marriage.
Right.
Or so I thought.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Which was one of my posts. How do you handle conflict? And if your answer to conflict is just to walk away or remain silent, like that's not a resolution.
That's not going to do it.
Right. It's not a resolution. And so then part of that, again, it comes to communications. So while he's walking away, I'm saying, okay, so let me tell you how this is playing out. So you are walking away, and so what you're forcing me to do is to readjust without you being a part of the solution.
Mm.
Right.
And so I think that happens so many times in marriages and is a source of relationships falling apart, because if somebody's always walking away, the other person's left to readjust their life.
Right.
And before you know it, you have a readjusted life without that
the
other person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Lisa, did Marlon ever tell you about your shortcomings in the relationship?
Yeah.
I don't know, because all I heard that, Marlon had some shortcomings. So,
well, of course, and especially from the standpoint of, as Tina mentioned, when you are bringing to someone's attention something that maybe they know, maybe they don't, but they don't necessarily like or want to like about themselves, then they will throw it on you. And so then it becomes about, well, but this is wrong with you and that's wrong with you.
Right.
So there's definitely room to hear everything that's wrong with everybody. But I think that part of one of the things that I would accept as a shortcoming in this is that what we also tend to do, I think, as women, and especially if you feel hurt, is become an enabler. And you actually, without even knowing it, is creating the pattern for it to continue to happen. And so one of the things that I started to notice was the pattern. Like you do something that I don't like or I think is inappropriate or whatever, and then my reaction is whatever my reaction, and it's like the cycle. Keeps going and keeps going. And so then at some point, once you see there's a pattern, then you have to do something to change it, or it'll continue until you fall apart.
So that's what we want to get to. How did you change it? What did you do? Was it togetherness? Was it something you guys did apart, or was it when he changed, then you were able to change? Like, what was it?
Yeah, at this point, we have the thermostat kicking in, because right now it's up and down, in and out at this point. Right. Okay.
So let me just bring it back just a few notches. So one of the things that happens when you in previous relationships and or marriages, you can't help but in your mind go back to your previous relationship, and you're comparing that relationship to what you have now to assess, what am I doing differently from that previous relationship, and where is this going now? Where do I want this to go? And I think one of the common things that stood out for me that caused that change to happen is, number one, we both have a faith in God. So we realize that there is something bigger than us that is that can benefit from our marriage. It's not about us anymore.
Okay.
Sure.
But with that being said, we have such highs, such really strong highs where we are so close and we experience that love that we have for one another. And so when we have that love, then when it goes the other direction, and now we're having this argument, and I'm seeing my wife literally in tears, frustrated and crying, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? I don't want this to continue. Right. Because I know how this happens.
Because you know how it's going to end up. Right, right.
You've seen this movie before.
I've seen this in.
I've seen this movie.
Yeah. Right. You know exactly how it ends.
The saying is, you can't keep doing the same things,
expecting different results.
Absolutely.
And I knew where this was going to go. My previous marriage, I had no clue where it was going. Didn't care where it was going to go. I just wanted to be peaceful.
Right.
But now I know that I have to change the narrative. And so what I began to realize is I have to get over myself, right? I had to get over myself in terms of it's not about me anymore.
And did you? And I think you have to ask yourself: do I really want another failed relationship?
Absolutely.
Do I want to let my ego step in the way, or do I really want? This is a person that I love, and she loves me. We care for each other. What am I going to do to change this, or am I just going to walk away again, saying that it was her fault, blaming someone else for another failed relationship?
Right.
So
Right. And so with that being said, I had to start to take a look at, and I started to realize when she was at such a broken place that because she was broken, it actually caused me to be broken. And so we're in our brokenness,
right.
we realize how much we love each other. And I realized then it's not about her criticizing me anymore. It's about me making her whole again.
Yep.
And did you think that the brokenness was from, like you said, we have baggage, so you're bringing past hurts back into this relationship, and like you said, you saw a pattern, and you're thinking, oh, you too, Lisa, like, okay, I know where this goes. I know if we're arguing and we don't fix this, then I know where this ends up. And so now I think at some point you had to say to yourself or think that I don't want this to happen again. Like,
well, it was, so for me, it was, again, it's like when you start to see a pattern and you look at what's your role in it. And when you see a pattern and you see, if the pattern is even that, you see something that we've talked about, it's still happening, or you see something you don't like and you say something, and then somebody apologizes, and then you go to the next time, and then, then something else happens. And you just see this pattern, and where you do your part, they do their part. You do your part, they do their part. But it's not really solving anything. It's not really elevating or moving and taking your marriage to the next level.
Right.
Then somebody has to make some significant change. And so for me, it was more about, not so much about, don't want to fail marriage, so I'm going to just take it and stay and do at all costs. It wasn't that.
Oh, no, right.
It wasn't that.
You weren't going down that road.
I meant like the feeling of, like, the feeling that you have from previous relationships, and you know that this can be better. And what can I do to help it, so that, sort of that, not like it's a film. Okay.
Right. It's definitely from the standpoint of that, there is a solution to this. You're putting everything on the table. I know that there are times when in relationships and just talking with other married couples where people take on the philosophy of just, let it go, don't make it into an issue, just, be quiet about it.
Yeah.
But
that push it under the table, which
does
not work.
Does not work. And so instead of taking that approach, but because this is a second marriage, because you do want to make it work, because it can work, then you put everything in it.
Okay.
And you don't say, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything about that because, I'm just going to keep that to myself, or I'm just going to talk to a girlfriend. I'm just going to talk to somebody. No, you put it all out there for you and your husband to deal with. Like it or not, good or bad, we're going to work through this.
And with that being said, one of the things that I began to do is once we got over the confrontational, arguing or pointing a finger, and this is to Lisa's point, why do I have to always get to this point of being broken and crying and heart wrenched for you to
even
get
notice,
it.
right?
For you to get it.
For you to wake
and
up.
And I realized that I was causing that. Whether I thought it was my fault or not, this is my wife. So I was causing that. And so I said, instead of me trying to guess what the answer is, why don't I just ask her?
Absolutely.
I'm saying, babe, what can I do to minimize this pain and hurt? What is it that that you need for me to do? And then she began to tell me, Marlon, it's great that you love me, and I know that you love me, but anybody can love somebody when they're lovable.
Absolutely.
I need you to love me when I'm not lovable.
Right, right.
That's not an easy thing to do.
Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not.
It takes an extra someone to do that.
He said that real nice, and then he said that. He said, "Oh no, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not."
But that's what she needed from me. So I began to ask her, so what does that look like? Give me more examples. So that means that when we have those tough conversations and we talk through what that means, when we go to bed at night, that means hugging me and saying, you know what, babe, it's going to be all right. Mm-hmm. She told me, this is what I need from you.
Okay.
I need you to hug me and tell me it's going to be okay. We're going to figure this out.
And you know what hugging is? It's a personal touch. Yes. If I touch you, I'm saying more than if I open up my mouth.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. And so if you listen to your mate, if they really love you, they don't want to die either.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
Hey,
Absolutely.
I'm drowning. Yeah. This is what I need.
Right.
Now, I can sit here and say, well, you know what? It don't take all that. And until you get your act together, but guess what's going to happen? She's going to be drowned. She's going to be dead. And it's going to be...
Right. And you're going to be up by yourself.
Right.
And you've been killed her.
Sitting over in a quiet corner somewhere.
No, you've been like, she died on her own.
Right.
She died of natural causes.
Right.
Right. But that's good. That's a good point. And I think a good point in that is that most of the time women are speaking up. Women are letting men know what they want and what they need. Mm-hmm. It's just that the man is not maybe so susceptible as you are into giving it. Men maybe don't want touch. They don't want hugs. Like you said, you're doing too much, but
I don't think they know how, really. I mean, if you weren't taught or you don't know how to really express your feelings, you can't do that. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you have to be vulnerable in this space. And most men are willing to be vulnerable.
Right.
It shows a sign of, weakness.
Right.
You're supposed to be tough to be a man. So I'm going to stand strong, like Marlon said. I'm going to go over in the corner where it's quiet and just let you vent and do your stuff. And then when you calm down, we can come together and sit down and watch some TV or be back together again.
So you would not recommend that. What would you recommend for those couples right now that may be going through a rough patch and are not newlyweds but have been married for a while, and they're going through that rough patch? Because after a while it does get to that point where you're just tired of arguing and fussing, so you retreat to your corners.
Right.
So how does the communication gap begin to close up? What would you suggest they do?
Mm-hmm. I would say that they want to do something unexpected. And, back to Marlon's point of just sometimes people just need a hug. I mean, you can be upset or frustrated about something. And so what would be unexpected if you go sit next to your spouse and you give them a kiss or you give them a hug? Or
sometimes people don't open.
But it take them by surprise.
I think you would be surprised how much that will break the ice to have a conversation.
It will. It'll drop your defenses. I mean, because there is no defense against that. Okay, you coming at me. Okay, here she come. And then she kiss you, you go.
And I tell a lot of people most of the time, when women and men or when people are arguing, most of the time they just want to be loved. And they don't know how to express it.
Right.
So we say it's the money. We say it's the kids. We say it's the job. And all of those are stresses. But I think the key point is that we're just looking for someone to hug us. We're just looking for someone to save us at that point. Just show me love. I just want to see and feel that you love me.
Right.
Don't tell me, like you said, you apologize and then the next day or it happens again. Just showing someone that you love them enough to take the time out to show them that you care.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
And with that being said, one of the things that that tends to happen in the relationship too is typically women are always 2 or 3 steps ahead of us, the men, in terms of what they want and what they're thinking. And I would tell Lisa a lot of times, I was like, hey, slow down. I'm not there yet.
All right.
And so to Lisa's point about
that's a good point too.
Doing the unexpected, I don't always have to agree with her to love her.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
So
Most
I
of the
may
time,
not
look.
be there. I don't
Right.
quite get the brevity of what the issue is, but I know I'm hurting her. So that means that I can do, because I love her, then that means that take time out. We don't have to resolve everything
Right now.
in one day.
Yeah.
Right.
But what I
That's
can do is love on you.
Right.
Yes.
I can cook dinner when you don't expect me to. I can say, hey, let's go out to dinner.
Right.
Do the things, and when you do those things, you break down those
Barriers
fears and
or-
barriers
Right.
to the point that you can now get to a place where
And have a
your heart
conversation.
is soft
Yes.
enough to have that conversation. And it goes back to what I said initially about being honest, right?
Right.
So you don't wait until there's an argument to be honest, because then it's just an argument.
Right. And you're not being honest in an argument anyway.
Sometimes you're not.
You're not. You're just trying to cover some stuff
And
up.
sometimes you say things that you wouldn't say when
Right.
you're arguing, you know,
Right.
or you're trying to be hurtful. It all
Right.
depends.
Or we're trying to be hurtful.
Right.
And so what are the 3 words that men can't stand more than anything else? We need to talk.
Oh my
Boys.
God.
We need to talk.
They need to write a book on that. Jesus.
We know
Did
this
you hear that?
here
Did you
comes
hear
an
our
argument.
podcast about that?
Man, listen, those few little words strike so much fear in a man's heart when he hear that we need to talk. Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm glad I never say that.
I'm glad
I
too.
don't say that. I just
I just start talking. And then he go, oh Lord.
Right.
Maybe they would like it better.
I don't even get I don't even get a
Right,
warning or
right,
anything.
yeah.
So
jump right in.
You in the room, you free.
Right.
I just jump right on in.
she just jumped right in and give it to me.
So in the terms of the thermostats, that's what we were
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
yep.
But,
So
it's
because
good,
this
but it's good to get a little
backstory.
backstory, right? So
Right.
now
Right.
we're elevating to the thermostat. Okay.
Right. So what I had to come to grips with is that me being the man in this relationship, the being what I like to call the priest in my home, that I realize that my wife loves me as much as she may criticize what I did or what I didn't do. I make her complete.
Okay.
And so because of that, I have a responsibility. In fact, I have that gift in me that resonates with her, so that therefore it becomes my responsibility to make sure that she's whole. I know her better than anybody else, right? So I know what she needs for her to feel warm, for her to feel protected, valued, understood. And it's my job to do it, even when she's not treating me the way I think I'm supposed to be treated. If I take care of her, guess what? She's going to take care of me.
So do you think people might see that as one-sided? Like, why is it the man's role? Why is it your role to fix her instead of her role to fix herself? And then when she's whole and you're whole, then you can be complete. Like, why do you feel like it's your job to have to fix her when she's broken?
Well, so what I think is that for women, though, I think there's a natural tendency to love on and to nurture those people that they care about. And so I think that they're doing that. They're already doing that. And so but I think that is a less natural thing for a man to do that. I think it's less natural for them to be the nurturer in terms of that, in that way, and loving on their wife in that way. So I think that's where it just requires more intentionality on his part. I think it's just a more natural thing for a woman. And even when they're not getting it back, they're giving it out all the time.
Yes.
So I think that's partly why. It's not that it's one-sided. It happens both ways. But I just think it's more easier and natural for a woman to do it.
Okay.
That's true. It does seem a little abnormal for a man, but it's a good thing. I mean, it's fine because you're in a relationship and you love your wife. So.
Okay, so what is the thermostat? What exactly is that? What do we mean by that term, the thermostat?
Sure. So when you think about a thermostat, what is the role of a thermostat? A thermostat has to, first of all, be aware of the temperature in the room, right?
Right.
And so in relationships, my job, I feel as a man and the husband in the relationship, is to constantly, daily take a weather check on how my wife is feeling, and not just automatically assume that it's set to 75 and that she's on 75 every day.
Okay.
No.
Because life happens, right?
Right. Right.
And because life happens, that's going to change her temperature, her gauge of where she's at in terms of being whole. And so as a thermostat, I have to give her what she needs. If she is feeling unappreciated, unloved, disrespected, no matter what I may think, I'm concerned about her happiness. And so I may think that she's at a 75, but really she's more at a 68.
Okay.
And so at the thermostat, my job is to love on her, to warm her up, to get to where she wants to be anyway. And it can't happen by itself. She's not going to warm herself up.
Right. Okay.
So the thermostat, I turn up the heat. And how do what does that mean by turn up the heat? That means I'm going to love her when even I don't understand what she's mad about. I'm going to bring her flowers. I'm going to listen to what her triggers are and making sure that I am giving her what she needs so that she knows that I understand her. Not to patronize her, right?
Okay.
Not to just make her feel like, there, now I bought you a box of chocolate, so now you should be better now, right? No, because she will throw those chocolates back in my face.
And it's all, unique to the couple because, what factors into this is your love language. So what is it that you need? So that'll be different for the different couples. It may be different in terms of just, which partner is having to or needing to make the adjustment in terms of being the thermostat. That'll be different depending on what's going on in the relationship. So it's not a one size fits all, but I think the key thing here is to just be aware of the temperature of your relationship.
Okay.
And then make the adjustments and recognizing that people aren't going to adjust. The temperature is not going to change by itself. That there's somebody who has to actively be doing something.
And so, and that's the problem. No, sometimes one person feels like I'm always adjusting. Why should I adjust? And then the other person says, well, we can always find fault when we're not at the right temperature in our relationship. Mm-hmm. So, someone has to do it. So, how do we know who that person is? How do we help people to adjust their relationship so that the thermostat is set at a temperature for both of them?
Come on, somebody. You just said something powerful. You just said that what if one person who's doing the adjusting the thermostat feels like they're always the one giving it? Well, think about it. If you're always having to adjust the thermostat, that means that there's a leak somewhere. Either there is not enough insulation keeping the heat in, or the windows are not great to keep the cool inside.
Right.
So
something's going wrong.
We gotta find what a leak is, and so so if you're constantly having to, that means that I'm not doing something right. If I gotta constantly work that hard, somewhere I'm not getting to the root of the problem. Where is that heat? That cold air coming in from somewhere there's a draft, and I gotta go find that draft.
Right.
So in translation to the relationship, I gotta find out what that thing is that's causing her to constantly have her temperature colder than what she wants it to be. Even though I may not be the cause of it, I'm not finding the root of the problem, and that's what the thermostat. So you're right. You can't just keep. Because what happens is if you keep turning, the thermostat's going to break. If
Absolutely.
you constantly got to keep running, something's going to break.
Right.
So you have to get to the root of the problem. And so that's what we call it.
And you said one thing. It may not even be in a relationship. It could be work. It could be family and things of that nature that's creating other stressors and things of that nature. So you have to actually work to get at the actual root of the situation.
Right. So and I think that major thing may be, so we talk about communication as we said before, but some people may not realize that they're not communicating. So how do couples really monitor or gauge if they're communicating, because if I'm thinking I'm telling you something and I'm constantly telling you, and then you tell me you understand and you hear me, and then we make up and then it happens again, how do we know that we're actually at the bottom of the communication, so that we know that communication is effectively being transferred between the two people?
Right. And you won't know unless you start to see results. There has to be some change. And if otherwise it's, like a dog chasing his tail, you're just going to keep going through this cycle. And that's where it's important that someone stops the cycle. That's where communication is really important. But you will have to see some change. And it's amazing when you get to another level of communication and understanding.
Absolutely. Right.
Well, and what I like to use as an analogy is communication can be like high blood pressure. It can be the silent killer in a relationship.
Okay.
Because like Lisa said, sometimes one person may decide, you know what, I'm tired.
Right.
So they may be quiet. And the other spouse think, okay, everything is going great.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you look up, I want a divorce.
You
Well,
on
where
two
did this
separate.
come from?
Right.
We were doing fine.
We were doing
It was
fine.
that silent killer.
We just got rid of all the kids. We paid off the house. I bought you a new car. What do you mean? Because we didn't take the time to, like Lisa was saying, just because somebody's silent don't mean that they're happy.
Wait, Marlon. Marlon said something. We just got rid of the kids. Right. We get paid off some. I just bought you a car.
Baby, I feel like I need to come over there and give you a hug.
Is he trying to say?
It's getting close to home.
Wait a minute. Is he trying to throw one in there on us?
I don't know.
So go ahead, Marlon. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But you're right. But you're right. And I think that is a key point. I think when if two people are really in a relationship to make it work, that they should be willing to sit down and actually communicate, and you'll know when the communication is actually working, because something will change.
Yes.
You can't have something positive or communication to start flowing and things not change. Mm-hmm. If things are remaining the same, that's how you know that there's still a leak. Like the windows aren't good, right?
Right. The door's cracked.
Even with the car or in the house, anything that you have to do preventative maintenance on it.
You have to.
Upkeep
You
on
have
it.
to.
Yes.
Otherwise, you may think everything is great, but eventually it's gonna fall apart.
And I think that's
this is one thing that we don't ever work on.
Absolutely.
Well, we don't study our relationships. We don't read books. We don't go to seminars. We don't do that kind of stuff. We just learn it, and we just get into it, and we just do it.
And I think that's why so many marriages early on fail, because we don't know what to expect and we don't know what to do. And like you said, Marlon, earlier, you was like, I didn't care. I just wanted it to be peaceful. I didn't care what was happening. I didn't know why it was happening. But my take and my answer was I'm just going to sit over here and just be quiet, and it's going to be okay. I think the problem is that, like you said, we don't study and we don't listen and we don't try to find out. Right. We really, if we want to know how to have a successful relationship, why not read about it? Why not find out about it? Mm-hmm. And we just don't do that. That's like one of those taboos again.
Yeah. Yeah, you figure it out. You'll have all the answers. But it's some really good relationship books and courses and movies and seminars and all that stuff that you can go to and actually talk to. And it's nice because if you're around a group of people that's trying to make their relationship better, it can't help but make your relationship better.
You can always learn some things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Because everybody's moving in the same direction.
Absolutely. I know probably over 10, 12 years ago, we had a seminar, and I had told them one of the best things to get something out of your mate was, and I didn't realize at that time, like I had said it, and then it was like 10, 12 years later, and the lady was like, I never forget what Tina said.
Oh, yeah.
If the best time to ask your mate or to respond to your mate about something that, maybe you guys disagreed about or something that you want or you want to bring something to them is right after love making, because that's their defenses aren't up. Mm-hmm. So after you make love, you're supposed to be at a blissful place. So that's when you ask
we don't go to sleep?
No. First I have to ask for what I want.
Before you go to sleep. Then you get the question.
So,
So I didn't know
so
that I
you
was
can-
part of the research stuff.
So if you want something from your mate, you have to get them at their time. Not when they come in from work when they're tired and they really don't
Right.
want to hear it. Not when you're arguing or you're trying to get your point across. But after that point when everything is happy and their defenses are down, and then you sneak it on in there. Very rarely do they say no at that point.
Yeah, you answer anything. I can attest to that. So I guess that was the test for that.
I don't know if it was tested. It was just
Well,
proof
someone
study.
came back. Someone came back some 10 years later, and she said that she had actually
Use that.
used it, and it actually worked. It was a very smart thing, and she was a very seasoned. It was a very seasoned couple.
Right. They had been married like 30 years more than us. So, but she had never. And the thing is that if you don't talk and communicate and listen to other couples, you never know what can work in your marriage that may be working in someone else's, or what is working in yours that you can help someone else work through.
Right.
And that's what this is all about.
Right.
What are we doing right that's making it work, and what are we doing wrong that's not making it work?
Right.
So, and that's the key point.
And I think something you said that was also key, and Lisa had mentioned also about intentionality and being purposeful about making your marriage work. And you had mentioned also, you guys talked about talking to your spouse and or seeking counsel. The thing about it is, people are going to talk regardless. And so, and Lisa and I always talk about, if you don't say whatever that thing is, that somebody else is going to make that narrative for you. They're going to make up what that reality is. And so what we have to learn to do is be intentional about who we're talking to, but also more importantly, who we're not talking to.
Okay.
Right? Because sometimes everybody's relationship is different, right? And so some
Absolutely.
people, we can't tell you how many times that we've talked to people to tell them our story, and we're not advocates of two people who've been married twice now. Mm-hmm. We're not advocating divorce, because divorce is definitely something that we both experience, and we don't want anybody to experience
Okay.
divorce.
Oh, yes.
Which is why we're here talking tonight, because we can enrich and give somebody some truths and some nuggets that can help them in that way. Then I think it's great. But the thing about it is, in terms of when you are, the point I was going to make, I forgot the point I was going to make about talking and sharing. People are going to, when you share your story, you can see in their eyes the pain that some people feel, like, wow, you know what? They're excited to see the love that we share,
Right.
but then they look at their own relationship, and you know what? My relationship is not where it needs to be, and so maybe I should just get out and reset that clock. And what we want to do, we want to get people to understand that before it gets to that point, like you were saying before, we have to be willing to know that ours, as my wife tells me, your stuff does stink. You are not as good as you think you are, right? You may think, I'm thinking marriage is supposed to be easy because she loves me, I love her, we have the same goals and ideas in life. This is supposed to be a piece of cake.
Nobody was listening to Tina. Nobody was listening to Tina, not me. When Tina said, "What's love got to do with it?"
Right.
That is the biggest truth,
that's true.
because love only lasts so long.
Right.
And I mean, you're in love, you're out of love. I mean, you still love the person, but love can't carry you through every trial, tribulation. It's not. You can't.
Right.
It doesn't last. So you have to have that infatuation stage to get to. But then the true test comes is, like you said, Marlon. Can I love you when you're unlovable? Can I really love you when you have that ugly look on your face? Like,
Or that little line right there in her forehead. I'm like, oh no, I know what that means.
and vice
When you see that line in the
And
forehead, you know it's on.
and
I
vice
done- I done
versa.
pissed
Can
off.
you love him when he's unlovable? Like you said, your
Right.
stuff does not smell good. I don't know who told you. Flush the toilet. And I think the biggest thing is that we do have to I think we have to know ourselves and be strong in who we are and know what we want in our mate.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have to be willing to support, nurture, and help that other person grow to who they need to be. Because like I've always said, people may look at our relationship and say, oh, I want a husband like him. And they may think, oh, I want him or whatever. And so you can take the same person as in your situation and be married to someone totally different and get a totally different outcome.
Right.
It has to do with the two individuals and what they bring and how they're supporting each other.
Right.
What am I giving you that you need, and what are you giving me that I need that makes this thing work? Right.
And so I remember, I gotta say this is funny. So we just celebrated, Christmas just passed, and I remember one of the things that I ask Lisa is I say, listen, give me a list of things that you want, categories, so that I could, help me to make a decision. Right? And I'm like, well, come on, you don't want.
Lisa, nobody can see your face. You gotta say something.
She was like,
I want him to finish the story.
You just want to insert.
She was like, yeah, I'm not letting you get off the hook that easy.
Exactly.
You should know what I like.
Exactly.
I'm like, but babe, you got so much stuff, and I don't want to get you something that you
you just don't want to think. You just
don't. Nobody's not gonna make that easy for you. You see me every day, all day, every day,
and even if
you know me, and so you
should know what I like
and what you want me to have.
Yes.
No,
Right.
Tina's saying yes because
what?
She says that because I should know what she wants.
Absolutely.
But she changes her mind too often. What you like today, you don't like tomorrow.
But that's
and I go by yesterday's like, and she goes, I don't like that anymore.
But you gotta take a step at it and just try
you know what?
And the thoughtfulness matters.
But you know what? But again, he's trying to get out of it. He's trying to look at my pattern and see what he can buy. He's trying the easy way out.
Right.
So she liked this, so I'm going to get this. No, if you know that I'm a person that likes change, try me. Buy me something that you've never seen me have.
Okay, so So I've done that. Right. So I've done that. She goes, "You really don't know me at all." I'm like, "Well, I try something different."
But you gotta. Well, I told him it's a combination of you do know me,
right? Exactly.
And the second is what would you like for me to have, and that combination.
Combination.
The combination of you see something and you know me, and so you
should have a feel.
You should have a feel.
And you say, I know she would like this because I know her and I want her to have this.
Right.
Exactly, Lisa. Exactly. Right. So if you know that I'm a person that likes, I don't like everything the same, but don't bring me something that you know. I'm like, you do not know me at, like, it's been 30 years. Like, I'm not, see, I think you just don't want to think. I think you want to make things easy, right?
And I had appeased him for a long time, and would just give him a list of categories.
So I'm thinking this is great.
That's how it's done.
But then, then I open up my gifts, and it's like, oh.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got the one that I said that I would like. Thank you, babe. And so it's like, what's the fun in that?
Right.
Oh my God.
Agree. I agree.
Here's the worst thing I'll do. That her biggest pet peeve is that I'll go buy her a gift, and I say, "Ooh, that's a good deal. I'm gonna get me." So
when I'm opening up my Apple Watch, it's like, oh, I got one too. This makes me feel really special now. So
it was a good
deal. The same gift.
We got matching gifts.
It's like my sister, her husband always says, "Let me know what you want," and then he buys exactly that. And so she's like, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to tell you what I want you to show me how well you know me and how much you love me. Like, show me. We want, like, you should know us by now to know what we like, even if you go out on a limb. Like, don't bring back something Like, come on now. Come on.
We don't even know what we want.
Right.
Let alone what you want.
That's so true.
Well, that's part of the problem.
And so
that is part of the problem.
It is. Because when we go out, we go, oh, he would like this. Like, we just know.
Yeah.
Don't you buy stuff, Lisa? And
absolutely.
Right. And you'd be spot on. I get that. I get it. And I miss the mark just about all the time.
All the time. I look at him and I go, you wow, you really don't know me at all. Like, I'm just like really surprised. And I do change. Like, I like variety. Like, you know, I don't like the same thing. Jason's thing is if you go to a restaurant and you're hungry, just get a hamburger. You know, just go with, it's always safe. I'm like, no, let's try taste and like, how do you know what you really like? How do you know
that you try different things?
I don't play around when I'm hungry.
Especially in the restaurant.
Right. So he's stuck on. I don't like Mexican. I don't like Chinese. You know, so we go to PF Chang, and he was surprised that there were some things on the menu that he actually liked. But like me, I'm willing to try anything.
Right.
You know, but don't bring me something you know. Like, you know, in the 30 years you've been with me, don't bring me no cowboy boots for Christmas. Not that
You've been talking to, because I know.
Not that I have a thing against cowboy boots, but I mean, I'm a city girl. Like, bring me some stilettos.
Right.
You know, red bottom. Like, you know, you should have some type of feel for who I am as a person. But sometimes he hits it on.
Sometimes I do. But you know what? I have to be intentional. I have to pay closer attention to what's going on.
Yes.
When you know, clues and things. But you know what? That's some investigative work.
You know what happened? You know what the real problem is?
What's that?
You don't like to go shopping with me. That's why you don't
like
know,
to go
right?
shopping with you. Because as soon as I walk in the store, I look for the man chair. And I'll say, pick me up when you're done. Yep.
So that's his little joke. When I ask him to go shopping with me, tell him what you say, Jason.
What's that?
About getting arrested.
No. It was saying that the thing was, if you were out in the open, if you were out amongst and just in the public, and it was an affection police officer came up, would it be enough evidence to arrest you to show affection in public?
Like, so he's an affection. So you guys are showing too much affection. So would you have enough to be arrested? Would he have enough proof against you guys
to put you on the arrest? Right.
I think so.
Right.
So I tell Jason when we go shopping, you're not getting arrested tonight.
Nope. I said, I'm walking free. Matter of fact, he ain't even pulling me over.
I'm like,
it's like, do you know her, man?
Right. He doesn't even know you know me. Exactly.
Right. No.
But I think, and it's with everything, I think we have to be intentional in our relationships. We have to be intentional of getting to know our mate. And sometimes we just, we're growing, but we're not growing together.
True.
We're just growing.
Right.
Well, and so with that being said, I think in so many marriages and relationships, like with anything, after a period of time, you take them for granted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's with anything. You get a new car and then you stop taking care of it. You know, your wife is new and everything's good. And
then after a while.
And absolutely. Did you hear that, Jason?
And
I did hear that. I'm paying attention. I'm taking good notes, baby.
so, and that's what we're continually learning. I'm learning that that you have to treat each day as an opportunity to grow closer to your mate, and to never take that day for granted. And so the hard part is when you think that you've given 100% and it's still not good enough, and they're upset. And we have to resist that urge to get defensive and say, you know what, that's on you because I'm doing 110%, and so therefore I can't do anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's not saying that you have to do more, but you have to do something different.
Or do enough of the right stuff.
Enough of the right
because because you know, like you said, you could think that you're doing 110%, but 110% of what?
Right.
110% where 90% of it is the wrong thing.
Right.
You know, so just right. So we do just paying attention to what is our spouse's love language?
Yep.
What does my spouse need to know that I love them? You know, not you know, women may need touch, and not all women.
Right.
Not all, but what do they need to show them that I love them? And it's not saying that you have to do it all the time, but you can be intentional in doing it and showing it or saying it a lot of the time, and understanding where they're coming from and when it's lacking.
In a relationship, you basically not take a day off. Every day, you have to be intentional about treating your spouse like they're the only thing in the world that matters.
Like they hear that again, that work. Marriage is work, right?
It's hard work, but it's a great payoff if you're doing it.
It
right.
is.
It is.
It is nothing like being in a loving, healthy relationship, period.
It is so. It is. It's revitalizing.
Yeah.
It's when things are going wrong, you have that one thing that can keep you lifted. It's a very good feeling, but it's a lot of work. It is. It's a lot of work.
Anything worth having is a lot of work.
Right. And people don't realize that. Like, they think that, like you said, they can come into a relationship and it's just going to just cruise through all the problems and everything is going to be peachy keen. And that's when the real test comes in. How well and how much are you willing to give and put forth in your relationship to make it work? How much are you willing to give of yourself for me to make it work, and how much am I willing to give of myself for you?
Right.
Because marriage is not about self. And that's what people have to realize. If you're in a relationship and the only thing you're thinking about is self, we can tell you right now it's not going to work.
No.
That's right.
No.
And I think sometimes, for me, one of the things that we experienced early on in our relationship was I was active in the military, right? So I was an active reservist.
Okay.
I would go away to St. Louis at one point, and then I would also travel to Minnesota once a month.
Okay.
And I remember being away in Minnesota, and Lisa and I would talk, and she would tell me, it's like it was amazing. As soon as I leave to go out of town,
Right, everything
falls apart.
Right.
The wash machine broke, the basement's flooding,
the furnace is out, everything.
Or she just misses our date nights and things that we do, and she felt like, and it was true,
like
that while I was away.
No, it wasn't no feel like.
I said it was true.
He would leave on Friday, and then I may not hear from him again until like Sunday when he's on his way back. I'm like, what are they doing in Minnesota? What? And then it really, and all of that was new to me. But I would say, you can check in or something.
Right.
And then it really kind of came to a head when I actually went there for a weekend. And I was in his office, and I'm in his office, and I'm like, he has a few pictures of a few things, and I'm like, there was like literally nothing there that was of me,
right?
And so I'm like, that's the problem. I'm like, you have to take me with you,
right?
You have to take me with you if you want. I mean, if you're married, there should not be a place or a time where you don't have your spouse with you.
Something that is going.
Something.
Mm-hmm.
So then it made it clear
Marlon
for me.
said he had his ring, but we don't know if he kept it on.
Right. He might have to take it off because of military drills. Who knows? But we had to, I had to really communicate them the importance of, because it all ties together. So it's not surprising to me. So I actually got clarity in that, because it wasn't surprising to me then how he could leave on a Friday and then I don't talk to him until he's planning to come back home on Sunday, because there was like nothing at all in his space that triggered anything
that said home.
As home. And this was, like I said, early in the marriage, but it wasn't anything to trigger home. So since then I went back.
Did some remodeling.
We did some remodeling.
Put all types of pictures up.
Vacation stuff, wedding pictures.
Somebody came and said, Marlon, did you just get married?
But what's interesting is, the reason why I bring that up is, those was one of those moments. That was one of those moments where I felt like she was overreacting.
Okay.
Babe, I love you. I'm not.
Why do I have to?
I'm not down
work.
I'm not having any extramarital relationships or anything like that. Now I'm preoccupied with work, and it's basically like being deployed away overseas, but you're just
local
in a different state.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But when you're there 24, I mean, you're doing something all the time, and so my time would be preoccupied real quick, and before you know it's over. But I couldn't appreciate what she was going through until, you remember the time she had to go on a trip for work, and she was gone for a week. And I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. There was nothing like walking into a house, turning the alarm off, and it's like nobody's here.
Right. It's that emptiness, right?
It's emptiness, nobody to talk to. And I'm like, I told her one night, I just heat up some porky beans for my dogs and watch ESPN. That's all I knew to do, and I just fell asleep.
When I came home, it was like a pot on the stove with some hot dogs and some barbecue sauce or something, a loaf of bread open. I'm like, what is going on? It's like you didn't know how to survive.
I took her for granted. I didn't realize what she meant to me. And if you all remember when we had that Top Golf album.
Right.
Yes,
You were trying to keep yourself.
I'm like, Tina, can you?
Right.
He came over. We stayed a nice long time.
Right. I'm like, I'm afraid to go home.
But I didn't know what it. I mean,
I told you could stay over, Mark. We know. Jason likes you guys not too over for the pin and night. Man's retreat.
That's right.
But but when you have found the person who you really love, that makes it worth it. And I think that again for us, I remember telling Lisa a story. I remember in my previous marriage, for years, wishing that I knew what that it was like. Mm-hmm. I remember listening to like Luther Vandross.
Oh yeah.
And listening to all the love songs, and it was all just empty ballads. Because I had nothing to compare that to.
Connected to. There was
and not until Lisa and I got together that I could actually now, and we both say this, we can truly say now we're really in love.
Yeah.
So you ask me, so how do I do it? I do it because I don't want to lose the love that we have.
Absolutely. Okay.
So that's where the motivation comes from.
And that's a good thing too, because I think early on, people take it for granted. You take your relationship for granted. You take your spouse for granted. And the love you do lose the love. Mm-hmm. You do. And the thing is that when you finally have something and you can compare it to something else and you found it, now you know you don't want to lose that. But sometimes, unfortunately, it's too late. Mm-hmm. Some relationships, people don't know what they have until it's gone. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's why sometimes people get remarried, to the same person. Right. So, but that's true. Working on recognizing that what you have is and can be special, and just making sure that you keep the love alive.
And so, like you said too, love, it takes more than love because love is not always going to be there. But I submit to you that love comes and goes. And so it's like the wind. So whenever the love is not there, we have to usher that love back.
So it comes back. So it flows.
It doesn't have to go away and stay away.
Right.
If you want that love to be there, it'll be there.
Yeah.
And we tell each other all the time that even though we may have our disagreements and issues, we are truly best friends. So many people go through life for being in relationships for different reasons, and they really don't like who they are, who they're with.
Yeah.
But we can be together. I don't care whether we're in Chicago and it's 20 below outside, or we're in Miami and it's 85 degrees. We're on the beach. As long as we're together, I don't need anybody else.
Right. Absolutely.
And you guys always are. I see all those Facebook posts. You're always somewhere where the sun's at.
Right. So we look like that right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So we're going to close it out. Is there anything last that you would like to say, Lisa?
I would just like to say that for anybody who is in a place of wanting to make their relationships better, that they are in control of that, just mix it up, do something different. I think that there's a chance to make a change in the relationship, but it requires you to be intentional and communicate more and express love.
Okay, Marlon, how about you?
Well, so the way I wrap it up is I'd say that relationships can work and they will work if you're willing to put in the work.
Okay.
And that if you have to see the big picture and think beyond now, but where you want to be, and set goals, small goals to get to where you want to be.
Okay. All right. Well, that ends another episode of Loving Beyond the I Do. And as always,
we're in it to win it.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Lovin' Beyond the I Do podcast. Head over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Legendary Relationship, or visit our website at legendaryrelationship.com. Till next time, remember to make every day count.